Hello everyone, and welcome back to my show, The Interview. I'm your host, Susan Lee MacDonald. There are those of us who gain notable achievements and gain great success in our lives, and today's guest is none other than CEO Eun-mee. She has had the confidence and passion to go towards her dream, and she has been the founder of the first services company here in Korea and all over Asia. I think that you're going to gain a lot of inspiration from her story. Let's go meet her today. Regarded as the top CEO in the service office market for 16 years, Eun-mee. Also known as Mee Kim in Southeast Asia, she is recognized as a successful CEO with branches all over Asia. She has won a number of awards, including the Female Leader of the Future and the Global Female Enterpriser. After constantly tackling new challenges to become the leader in the service office market, she is now operating 14 branches in 8 cities around Asia. Learn about her secrets to success and her difficult journey to get to where she is today. First of all, Mee, I'd like to welcome you to my show, The Interview. It's such a pleasure to meet with you.
Nice meeting you, Sujan. Thanks for having me.
Sure. I'd like to ask you about service officers, because I think that a lot of people may be unfamiliar with what that might be. Could you explain that to us?
Yeah, sure. It's a pretty new concept here in Korea. Serviced office, as it is. It's office fully serviced. It comes furnished, equipped, and also comes with a team of people who manage the office. Here in Korea, it is known as residence. In those days, say if you want to open your own business here in Korea or say in Hong Kong, you have to do it from the scratch. To start with, you need to locate the building, you have to sign the lease for a few years normally.
Yes.
Then you have to design the office, fit it in, order the furniture.
There's a lot of work
a
involved
lot
with starting
of work.
a business.
Install the telephone lines, internet, server rooms, then hire the people. So it will take a lot of your time and energies and pain as well.
Definitely.
So we provide the office which is already set, ready to use, just like as you check in the hotel.
I see.
You could come in, check in 5 minutes. You have your own office with your own secretary, manager, tea ladies, you name it.
It sounds great for anyone who wants to start a business, or maybe they're starting a business in another country where they're not really familiar with the layout of the land, and it seems like that would be a great option to just start business right away.
Especially nowadays, the business environment is changing very fast, unpredictable. The biggest risk is commitment. So as you lease your own office, you need to commit as long as 3 years. And you also have to hire people permanently. And that commitment costs a lot of money to your business. So with the serviced office, your commitment is as short as an hour,
Really?
a day, or a week.
So let's say that I have a business of my own, it's incorporated, but I want to use your office for 2 weeks while I'm here in Korea. Then is it possible just to rent your offices for 2 weeks only?
Even 1 hour.
1
You
hour.
check in 5 minutes, you will be ready with your own phone number, own secretary, server room, you name it.
That's fantastic. Wow.
Especially when you travel to foreign country where you have to deal with language barriers,
Yes.
culture shock. So you have very limited knowledge and resources. And that's where we cut in.
I'd like to ask, who are your main clients for your business?
Mostly multinational from all over the world. Korea Center alone, we have more than 20 different companies from 20 different nations. All over the world, more than 50 nations. Just to name a few, Goldman Sachs, ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola, even Prada, Ritz-Carlton Hotel, IT, finance, oil and gas industry, service sector. All kinds.
So we're not talking just small companies that are unable to afford business startup facilities. We're talking about really heavy hitter large companies who choose to have an office in your facility.
Yes, a lot of also Korean conglomerates like Samsung, LG, GS, SK are our clients in other location. But we also try to meet everybody's pocket. Of course, office space is kind of pricey because that's the location where we pick. Normally they have the highest rental in each town. But those people who have a very limited budget, or those people who doesn't want to have a full-time office, they could always use a virtual office, which they can print on their business card just by using our business address and phone number, and use as they need basis, hourly or even weekly. So we call it VIP membership. So by joining one location, they can instantly gain access to 14 centers in 8 cities.
Where do you have your companies?
Beijing, Shanghai. We have Pudong Pusi 2 centers in Shanghai, Bangkok, Manila, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, here in Korea. So all in 8 cities, and we're hoping to enter Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi this year.
I see. So what do you attribute to the success of the service office? Because it seems like it's just a booming industry, and you're one of a few companies that actually do business here.
In fact, there are already few listed company. One of the company listed in UK, also Australia, which is my previous company. I think we are the only Asian-based company offering international access. It seems very simple, and a lot of new operators are now appearing in the market. But again, it is not as simple as it looks, because there isn't any professional who can provide this kind of service. When hotel was introduced, say 100 years ago, nobody knows about the hotel, and there was no hotel university to train those professionals. So more or less, it is the same situation. Those people who have all the industry experience more or less stay with us within our company for long term. And that really keeps us going to compete with the big operators, because we know what we're doing, and we've been doing this actually forever. Our accumulated experience is over 300 years.
After searching for the best location for her business in Seoul, she patiently waited for 10 years to lease an office space located in the business center of the city, Gwanghwamun. She invested a great deal of time and money turning this office space into a hotel-like business center.
Well, we looked around Seoul in this particular area, and we were very impressed with the professionalism of the people that work here, as well as the aesthetics of the property itself.
This office, equipped with various auxiliary facilities and equipment that can be used at any time, has everything that a businessman needs. There are multiple meeting rooms, and there's even a cafeteria where the users can relax and interact with one another. It has even been a place where the users can go after a long day to relieve their fatigue and stress from work. This is how Eun-mee shows consideration for her clients.
The facilities, as you've seen, are very nice. They keep them up very well. The maintenance is excellent. And the secretarial support services, when I'm away, I know that my clients are going to get proper information, that I'm going to get the right message about who calls me, who visited, and so forth, so I can leave the office and not be afraid of how my clients are treated, whether they call or whether they come by and visit.
I'm curious what you were like when you were in school.
My nickname when I was baby was Pumpkin. I was very chubby and very ugly.
Oh,
when I grew
that's hard
up,
to believe.
I was very tomboy. Even my nickname was Woman Gangster. All the boys in the school made fun of me, and they didn't like me at all.
That's hard to believe. I mean, you are one of the most uwahan, like sophisticated ladies we've had on our show.
Oh, thank you. But believe it or not, I have a very talented brother and sister, and I was always compared, and my parents were not happy, and I never meet their expectation. So I was not happy child and always isolated. My escape was book. I was hiding in the library and all in my room, and I like to read. That's the only time I can forget about the reality. But as I grew older, I realized you are not actually only what you look. People see you beautiful when you believe in yourself and when you like yourself. So I start to like myself instead of focusing on my weakness, and I start to look at my strengths, and I start to gain more confidence. And instead of being an ugly duckling, I decide to be a swan.
Well, the thing about a lot of men and women is that sometimes we all suffer from self-esteem issues. We all suffer from confidence issues from time to time. And you said that you focused on your strengths, but was there some type of event or something that kind of was the aha moment that helped you to decide that you were going to focus on the positive and not on your insecurities? Because that's hard to do.
Believe it or not, it was the most dramatic moment, or my turning point, was when I left Korea. As I mentioned to you, since I was a child, I wasn't able to fit in. I was tomboy, I was fast strong, I was so bossy, I wasn't pretty, I wasn't also excellent academically or in other area like my brother and sisters. So no matter how much you try, you had to deal with the low self-esteem issue. But when I left Korea to go to Australia, it was a different story. All of a sudden, compared to those loud, big Australian ladies, I was a very feminine and shy Asian girl with, of course, your limited English. A lot of people gave me the compliment. So I feel people can change when you have a different environment. I could start all over again and re-establish my self-esteem, which has grown since every day.
Leaving Korea must not have been an easy decision, though, initially. How did you decide to leave Korea at that time?
As I mentioned to you, when I was always dreaming of going overseas. As I read all kind of books, those days, it's not easy to get the passport, almost impossible. Even going to get your further degree wasn't an easy situation. So I was just kept dreaming of going there one day. I never had that opportunity. So after graduating from university, I had to work. My mom got bankrupt from her business, so we had to make our own way. And luckily, I was able to find a job at the Citibank. At that time, they offered the highest salary possible.
I see.
Everybody were envious, and my parents were very happy that I could support the family. But
So
then,
you supported your family after your
because
family went through
I
a
still
difficult
had a
time.
brother and sister in the university, and my father was just a salaryman, and for him to support 4 kids were not easy
That's
at all.
a challenge, yes.
So I was helping the family to support my brothers and sisters, but it was only when I joined Citibank I realized I'm not a number person. In fact, I hate the number. Every day was a nightmare. I couldn't wake up. I was late every day until my boss had to start roster system, because every day I was arriving half an hour or 1 hour later, and our division performance was the lowest. So they finally created afternoon shift because of me. And whatever I do, there was always a mistake, and I wasn't good at typing. Those days we were using telex.
Yes.
With typos everywhere, and at the end, my boss tried to, matchmake me with all kind of guys.
Really?
She thought if I got married, I would quit.
So your boss was trying to set you up on dates.
Few guys,
so that you would leave the company. Oh
yes,
my goodness.
So it was that bad. And I couldn't even complete a year, a week before a year. So I quit, and I decided to go to Australia. And in Australia, I could start all over again as a new person, as me Kim with a new name.
It's so nice to sometimes have that second chance. We, at a certain point in our lives, or maybe different points, we feel like we're kind of trapped by where we are, and we want to break out. And it seems like that opportunity for you to go to Australia really gave you that opportunity to just open up your wings and start to really live the life that you wanted to live for yourself.
So I always say, when the life doesn't treat you well, you can make your own. So that's how I believe.
When you first got to Australia, that you had a part-time job as you were going to school, I imagine that it wasn't easy to work a part-time job and go to school. What kind of work did you do at that time?
All kinds. At that time I was working, before I left Korea, I know someone in Samsung, and they had a branch office in Sydney who gave me the recommendation letter. So I started with the Samsung Electronic as a part-timer, but their office was very far away from the school. So I had to take trains, buses, because I didn't have a car, 2 or 3 hours.
3 hours to and from work.
Come and back,
Wow.
2 to 3 hours. So it wasn't worth it. So I found a job in the restaurant, just serving food and cleaning, washing dishes, which is very common job for the student those days. It wasn't enough because I had a saving of a year of salary after supporting my brothers, sisters. I had a bit of saving, but there was just enough to pay for one term, one semester, tuition fee. So I had to find my way to survive. And at that time, we had increasing number of Korean migrants, and those migrants normally don't speak English. So I thought maybe immigration department might need a Korean interpreter or translator. And there was 24 years ago, my English was far worse than now. But I dared to, think to apply for that job. So I just rang the immigration department and asked whether they would need any help, and I can be their interpreter. In fact, they already had someone, but so they said no vacancies available. But I just left my contact number and just told them I'll be available whenever they want. And only after a week, they called me.
Oh.
And I went there, and there was a pretty serious case in the school. The migrants, teenager kid had a problem in the school, stealing money, and interesting thing was my English wasn't good enough, but I majored in social work, especially family counseling.
Oh, so in
I was
undergrad.
I was end up counseling the kid between the school and between the family, and managed to help him settle in. So there was the
wonderful.
beginning. Since then, I had a call ringing every alternative days, and because it's it is one of the highest paid job, but again, you have to be everywhere they want. It could be court, it could be hospital, and I had to stand by for 24 hours, even 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight. But they paid very well, and it managed to give me some money to pay for my food. Still wasn't enough. So what I've done was I rented the cheap apartment. At that time it was like $70 a week apartment.
Oh my goodness.
And in Australia you have a Salvation Army,
Yes.
where you can get all kind of furnitures, electronic appliances. People gave it away.
Right, things that are donated to the Salvation Army.
That's right. So I went there with the friends, pick up all those things and decorated the apartment. And I rented, it was one bedroom small apartment. And I rented that bedroom to my classmate who was Thai. And I slept in the living room in a sofa bed. So she paid the rental. I cooked for her. Of course, I had to cook for myself anyway.
Yes.
I cooked for her. I cleaned the house. I managed a small, tiny unit, and she paid everything. She was pretty well off Thai student. And so that covered my rental and my food cost.
It sounds like that was almost a precursor to what you're doing now.
Actually, more or less, yes. It's more or less, it's the same concept. I service my friend and I collect the rent.
That's ingenious. It's hard to believe, seeing how confident she is now, but Kim Eun-mee was an insecure girl with an inferiority complex when she was young. She had always dreamed of living abroad since her childhood, to see in person what she had read about in books. So she decided to pack up her bags and head to Australia. There, she rediscovered herself through the eyes of foreigners who saw her differently.
So how long did you end up studying in Australia?
2 years.
2 years. And so you were able to support yourself, feed yourself, also feed and help support someone else too. So after your schooling in Australia, did you work immediately afterwards?
Even before graduation, I started to look for the job. The only reason I went to Australia for further degree was to find a job as a boss. It would take forever in Korea. For example, the Citibank where I worked for, to be a boss, it might take 10 to 15 years, and I wasn't patient or capable enough. So I thought that with a master's degree, a lot of companies might offer me that kind of opportunity. But still, there isn't any job opening for any woman, even with your additional degree in Korea. I looked everywhere, I couldn't find it, except those foreign banks. I didn't want to go back to the bank, so I started to look for a job in Australia.
It must have been very discouraging to not be able to find something back here in Korea after all of that time that you spent in Australia. How did that feel at the time?
Oh, I was totally down, very, very miserable, and regretting, coming to Australia, wasting 2 years. And everybody said, "See, I told you, giving up such a highly paid job."
Don't you hate that when someone says, "I told you so, you shouldn't have done that"?
Exactly.
Especially when you were following your heart. You really felt that that was the right thing for you.
It was one of the, downtime in my life. But I didn't have any other choice. I had to find a job, right, to make a living. So I sent out more than 100 resumes to everywhere. One is a small, medium-sized Australian company, which offers very similar product that I'm in now.
I see.
And the other company is a branch office of Hutchinson Telecom, a multinational company. Of course, everybody, including my parents, advised me to choose Hutchinson Telecom, but I chose the small, medium-sized company, offering unique service that no one knows those days.
Did you feel that this is what you had been looking for, that this is what you would be good at when you started working there?
Yes, because they, at that time, wanted to, they planned to get listed, and in order to get listed in Australia, they need to have a presence in Asia. So they needed someone who could, develop their market in Asia. And because they are a very Australia-based company, they didn't have any Asian manager or Asian team. I was I think, right for them. They were targeting Korea to start with, and they asked me to go to Korea to do the market survey and hopefully open up the branch in Korea.
So did you come straight to Korea after that?
Yes, as soon as I got hired, I had a intensive training, and they sent me to Korea to do the market survey. There was nearly 24 years ago, 1990. And
it was soon after the Seoul Olympics in '88.
I think so. No internet, and there is no property agency in those days in Korea. So I had to walk virtually downtown Seoul, every single building.
Wow.
To find out the lease terms, conditions, also how to set up the company here in Korea. At that time, Korea wasn't open to many foreign investors, and very tough. So everything was negative. So I told them, Korea is not right for you. You shouldn't open, and that means no job opening possibilities for me.
For you, wow.
Because
So
they hired, specifically to set up the office in Korea. But luckily, the president liked my report, and they offered me a job in their head office instead. So I became a manager. I was the very first Asian ever worked in that company in the head office, and I was managing all the Australian staff.
That must have been overwhelming because you didn't grow up in Australia, you didn't grow up outside of Korea, and to know the needs of another culture's people and their business practices must have been very challenging. And even despite the fact that you were smart and you were very resourceful, I imagine that it would have been difficult. So what was it that made you decide to just quit?
I didn't quit because, as I said, it's a very good opportunity, hard to come. But one day I was taking inquiry from potential customer. Of course, on the phone it's much harder to communicate. And the other party was telling me, speak in English. What language are you speaking? And there was a real blow for me. I just felt I cannot live in this kind of environment where I don't deserve respect. So I was thinking of quitting. Then they had one branch in Bangkok, which opened recently, but the business didn't go well, and they wanted to shut it down.
In Bangkok?
Bangkok. And my roommate was Thai, and I had a chance to meet up with many of her friends when I was studying. So although I've never been to Bangkok, I felt pretty comfortable because they are Asian. We all speak English as a second language. The food is, more or less similar. It's hot and spicy. So I thought, okay, this could be, right. I volunteered myself to take over that problem center, which they wanted to shut down. And I told them, you're going to shut it down anyway. Just give me a year, and if it doesn't work, you can shut it down then. And I was junior manager, less than few months. Of course, they didn't approve. I told them, you don't have to pay me as an expat. Normally, as a country manager, they will give you cars, they give you luxurious accommodation all the time, extra salaries. You just pay me whatever you are paying now and decide after 6 months. So I negotiated with them. I made their decision easier. So the next week, I was in Bangkok, where I knew no one except one, my ex-roommate.
Wow. So once you got to Bangkok, tell us what happened.
Because they were not quite sure what I'm going to do. They gave me the accommodation. It's like a 2 to 3 star running down inn, where you see the cockroach flying everywhere and dirty and dark. And I was thrown into the center without any introduction. The team, the Thai team, they had a very qualified team, mostly speaking fluent English, MBA degree, more or less my age. So they were like, hello, who are you? Why do we have to answer to you? Thai language was also very new. Thai had a very, very different culture. I thought the Asian culture more or less the same. They did everything to throw me out. They hated me.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to do something to prove I was boss. So I fired one person instantly without knowing the Thai culture. It was my biggest mistake because Thais are very proud people, and firing someone is extremely offensive, thing to them. So whole team rebelled on me, and one of them called the immigration department because I just arrived. My work permit was under progress. And normally it takes a month to get the proper work permit, but I wasn't patient enough. I had to go to office to do something and to make a difference. They came. It was actually the foreign deportation department, Aryan department, something, and they came to arrest me.
Arrest
So
you
it
for
was
what?
not. It
Oh my
was not
goodness.
legal to work without a work permit. Very, very serious offense. And few policemen with handcuff and very scary experience. But I managed to calm them down. I convinced them I'm here to help Thai government to attract all the investors from all over the world. And my work permit is under process, and ask for their support. And somehow, it softened them down, and instead of arresting me, they actually helped me to process my work permit overnight.
That's incredible. But
So,
what a scary experience.
It was very scary.
I mean, very
experience.
vengeful of the employees there.
And it was hurting, of
Yes.
course, and I had to prove. And I realized I cannot, push myself to be a boss overnight. I had to earn their respect. I had to earn their love. It made me very humble, in fact. So I started to be their friend. And we managed to get the name out very quickly.
I
The
see.
expat community there is relatively small. And to get my name out in the market, especially this young Korean girl who is 29 years old, coming to Thailand and trying to offer a unique service which wasn't existing in the market. So somehow it worked. And we attracted many clients. And at the end of 1 year, Bangkok Center became most profitable center in the group, and I was rewarded. It was very rewarding. Of course, they moved me to a very nice apartment.
Good.
So my
No more cockroaches as roommates.
Yeah, no more cockroaches. My quality of life has improved, and by then I learned about Thai culture. I had many Thai friends, and I started to enjoy my life. I was very happy for a while.
For a while.
For
so
a while.
what happened after that?
After all these challenges, year 2, by when I finished second year, it became a routine. Life was too easy. And I always wanted to learn something. And I was the boss, but I didn't have a chance to, train myself to the next level. And everything was just too easy. So I thought, I need a bigger challenge than this. And at that time I had another friend from Australia who lived in Indonesia, Jakarta. So she invited me to come to see her during holiday. I went to Jakarta for the first time in my life. New business, new development everywhere. And I just loved that energy, and I thought, this is where I should be. So I, volunteered again to my head office. I'm going to open a branch in Jakarta. Of course, they were laughing. How? We don't have an immediate plan. But in a way, they wanted to have a presence in every Asian city. So I said, as long as you find a way, why not? So then I went away, get the introduction, and find a potential local partner who were able to offer the space, 1 floor, as a local partner. So instead of committing, paying a big rent and inject a huge investment, we could start, with a very limited funds, because the local partner offered the space for free, and we could share the profit at the end of the business. So that's how I get into Jakarta.
So after about a year and change in Bangkok, having taken one of the worst performing company branches, you took it into being the most profitable. You went to Jakarta kind of on a vacation, fell in love with Indonesia, and offered your company to start a new branch there.
Yes, I did.
So when you went to Jakarta, what was it like for you? Because you've been there now for quite some time.
Nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
But at that time, again, I only know one person, my ex, classmate. And everything was new, which was really exciting. I had to learn all over again, Indonesian language, Indonesian food, Indonesian culture, Bali. And so every day I was very excited, and starting up business from the scratch. Of course, it's painful, and it is extremely, extremely exhausting. But the feeling of achievement is huge, and the reward was huge. So there was my second center in new country.
Working at that company for a number of years, you later then decided to hand in your resignation letter in '97 to start your own company. What was the turning point that made you want to do this for yourself and not for someone else?
Nearly 8 years I stayed in the company, managing Bangkok, managing Jakarta. Then I was managing Asia region. I was a bit tired of living in developing country, and I always had my passion for Japan. And at that time, they were eyeing on Japan. So then again, I went to Japan, did market research. You know, ready to open up a Japan branch, and the company gave me all the assurance and all the promise. I learned Japanese at night. I was ready to go. Then somehow, I think they learned Koreans very discriminated in Japan, and it was too risky for them to send a Korean manager to run the show in Japan.
Really?
So they broke the promise, and they sent the junior manager, Australian manager, to Japan. I lost the trust in the company after working 8 years, day and night, sacrificing my holiday, you know, starting from the scratch in many different countries. So then again, I negotiated with them. I told them, if you don't send me to Japan, I'm going to quit. So I thought that they would apologize to me and okay, you know, cancel the junior manager and send me to Japan instead. But it was the other way around. My boss said, maybe it's time for you to take some time off.
Wow.
You worked very hard.
That must have been a real blow after all of that time that you spent.
Oh my God, it was real heartbreaking. I never forget that moment.
Were you angry?
Angry and sad. I was totally, you know, down. And I was very proud, of course, when you hear something like that. So I threw resignation letter. Okay, if that's the case, I'm going to leave. Then again, with expectation that they might stop me, but they didn't stop me.
Wow.
So here we go one day, one of the highly paid, you know, professional running few branches. I already married then. You know, I met my husband, and I was just a housewife. Day by day, I was miserable, I was sad, regretted so much. Then I thought, I should hire myself if no one hire me.
What a great idea.
And my husband agreed, sure, you know, because I love this business so much. But the rental was also the most expensive, and I needed a huge capital. Of course, because I enjoyed a high salary, I had lots of saving. It wasn't enough. And I had a small apartment in Australia that I bought, so I had to sell my apartment. Still not enough money. My husband had his small house, so he put his house in the bank, and we managed to get some bank loan. Still not enough. So I had to ask my father in Korea. So he put his apartment in the bank. So we managed to get the rest of fund.
Wow.
So 3 houses in the bank, 1 sold, 2 in the bank. And I managed to open my first center.
At age 36 is when this all took place. So you were then not employed by the Australian company anymore. You were a middle-aged housewife, risking your home, your father's home, and selling your own home in Australia. So you definitely had the biggest gamble at any time in your career up to that, because it's no joke to start a business. There's no guarantee that it's going to work. What was it that made you decide that you believed in yourself enough to take on those risks? Because if you failed, that would have been a real disaster for a lot of people involved, no?
I was totally out of my mind. And my husband was out of his mind. My father was out of his mind. But I had a proven track record of 8 years working for that Australian company in various markets. And I've been always successful. I was always at the top performer. So I knew I could do it. I just knew the business in and out. I thought it's not a big deal. And I also knew how much I made for that Australian company. So when I calculated it could get, paid off within a year or so. So I gave my business plan to my father, and he was excited.
Then did you ever hear from your father and your husband, you should have done this earlier?
But what happened was, within a year, we had the worst Asian crisis. IMF crisis
Yes.
hit Indonesia.
Yeah,
And
all over
also,
Asia at the time.
I got married and I tried to have a baby. I was pretty, old to be a mother, so I couldn't wait. I couldn't delay my pregnancy. But I wasn't able to get pregnant, so I had to go to all the fertility clinic. No luck. So finally, I gave up. Okay, maybe I don't have any luck, and I should just have my own baby, which is the business. So the minute we set up the company, that moment I got pregnant.
Really?
So here we go. The crisis hit, and my stomach is getting bigger. And actually, within a year, it got worse. Indonesia had the worst riot, because that's when Suharto, had the longest his regime, and demonstrations everywhere, riots everywhere, tank on the street, riots, raping, stealing, fires. It was very dramatic, just
my
like a
goodness.
war. And I was fully pregnant. All my competitors, including the clients, they all shut down their business, evacuated. All the Korean in Jakarta also, evacuated. I couldn't pick any better moment to do the business.
Because at that time, when everyone's leaving, that leaves a vacancy for the kind of business that you're doing. So any company that wants to start up its own company in Jakarta, if they didn't want to invest a lot of money, they could save money and risk by maybe going to your new place.
Yes.
Interesting.
It could be, yeah, it was also the case. But most of companies, they didn't want to take any risk because it was more or less life and death threat. So people just shut down, including my previous Australian company, shut down the operation, ran away. And a lot of us investors, they also shut down the operation because they didn't see any hope. But as you said, some remained, some moved to my center to keep their show, going. But there was not enough business to fill up one center. I had 1,500 square meters with more than 50 offices, and I couldn't find any foreign investor who is able to, take that space. So I had to find my way to I just couldn't afford shutting down the operation.
What did
my
you do?
father, me, we all had to go to the street. And I thought, since they still have to keep the office, a lot of companies, they cannot shut down the office overnight. They needed someone to manage the office. Nobody wanted to come to Jakarta. So I volunteered my service to them. And I know how to manage the service. I can manage your people. I can do the monthly tax report. I can talk to your local partners, local suppliers. You can sit in your country and just call me or send me email. I'll do the rest.
Wow.
And that actually attracted lots of companies who still want to keep their presence and keep their business, but who didn't want to come to Indonesia.
That's incredible. So it's almost as if you were not only offering location for these companies, but also managerial and kind of CEO experience.
All kind
for
of
them.
business service. That's how our concept really started. The first day when I opened, our business was more or less the same as the previous Australian company. We offered the facilities, offices, boardrooms, video conferencing, that kind of facilities. Then I started to add those business services, which is very unique.
Yes.
So that's how our concept, has been.
It's incredible that out of a crisis, there are new ideas and opportunities, and it seems like you've definitely grabbed on to that crisis moment to create something very new, very unique. It must have taken quite a bit of ingenuity to do what you did.
I think when you are desperate and you have nowhere to go, that's when you get the fresh idea. So it was a lot of self-control moment. I had to train myself to ease out those fears and worries, but just to focus on solutions, how to get over and how to, move on.
A CEO suite with 14 branches in 8 cities and 7 Asian countries. It has set itself apart from other service office firms by providing premium services in a landmark building and allowing users to take advantage of its top quality facilities. There's also something Eun-mee never forgets to do. It's to visit every single client to greet them and understand their needs.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting
Meet
you.
Kim.
Robert Deleu, nice meeting you.
안녕하세요. 예, 처음 뵙겠습니다. 예,
네,
미킴이에요. 예.
네.
한 달 전에 입주하셨다고 들었는데 인사가 늦었습니다. So how long? A month with us already?
A month, yeah.
Yeah,
we
are
really
you
enjoy it.
are you settling down?
Yeah, everything's great. Everyone's very nice.
How is it?
Eun-mee always followed her heart
Is it you
and made daring and
manufacturer or
uncommon
maybe-
choices. And this is what has led her to become the top CEO in the industry.
You've been in this business for over 24 years, and you are arguably at the top of this business in the world. But even still, you said that you don't want to be good. You don't want to just settle. You want to be great. Do you think there's any room for improvement currently with your work as CEO?
Oh, so much every day. You should have seen me in my office screaming and getting frustrated and complaining to my team. I only see, those areas for improvement every day. So I think there is no limit for us to get better every day. You can, make your day different from the other day by just focusing on what you are doing and by thinking how you can do better tomorrow.
You've done so much as a CEO, and I know that you've been involved with a lot of charities and volunteer organizations, and you're very involved in the community. I'm also curious if you have any other kind of dreams and hopes and goals for the future.
Oh, my bucket list goes on forever. A lot. I've been a workaholic, I've been working. So there are a lot of things I want to do. I still don't know how to swim. I still don't know how to ride even bicycle. But this year, we just got back to celebrate our wedding anniversary. We went to Argentina to take intensive tango lesson.
Oh, how fun.
And I want to be a tango dancer. So hopefully by end of this year, I can, show you some performance.
Absolutely.
For business, I like to see my company. We are known to be the best in the market, but I also want to see them in bigger size, hopefully triple from the current size, and really want to make a great company that everybody enjoy working and everybody love to work.
Me, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I feel like I've learned so much about the passion and confidence it takes to take a company from nothing to this incredible global business and truly international business. And as a lot of people want to kind of hold on to certain kinds of dreams, we see that there has to be a lot of work, a lot of legwork. You earlier said that you're like a beautiful swan, on the outside, looking very, very calm, but underneath the water, you're just pedaling and pedaling.
Working.
And you seem like just the most amazing example of that swan. I hope that everything goes for you fantastically in the future, and I do hope to get to see you tango sometime.
Yes, thank you so very much. I
Thank you for
really
being on
enjoyed
my
talking
show.
to you. Thank
Great,
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.